Sheila Singh, your podcast host, and I'd like to welcome you to the My Brand HQ podcast, all things personal branding for career acceleration. This podcast is for talented, ambitious career professionals like you who are wanting to be perceived as a thought leader, to be top of mind to those that matter, and to make an impact and stand out, be that in your team, your organization, or your industry, and to be inspired by other successful leaders. I will be interviewing high-achieving career professionals who have carved out a successful career in their field and are open to sharing their career journey, their challenges, their learnings and insights with you, someone who is looking to establish your personal brand and accelerate your career. Through my personal branding and coaching practice, I enable career professionals primarily in the technology industry to earn more money, to increase their salary. In fact, I spoke to all of my past clients that I've worked with over the several years and learned that actually overall, they've received an average of 47% increase in their package. Would that be a great place to be? They've also all achieved at least one, if not more, promotions or moved on to a higher level in their career at another organization. And they're looking to advance their career while showing up as the best version of themselves. If this sounds like you, then do reach out to me and let's have a chat. And why do I do this? Well, during my corporate career spanning 25 years, I quickly realized that hard work alone was not enough to get me to where I wanted to be and the success that I strive for. And my belief is that hard work, coupled with creating and establishing a strong personal brand, can both influence and accelerate your career and get you to where you want to be. In today's episode of My Brand HQ podcast, I'm going to be speaking to Bill Bone. Bill is the Chief Technology Officer for Automotive at Aras Corporation. In this role, he maintains the automotive capabilities roadmap and he assists customers in helping them solve complex product management problems. Prior to this position, Bill was Global Director of IT Infrastructure, Strategy and Engineering for General Motors. And previously, Bill was recognized as a Hewlett-Packard Fellow as well as Chief Technologist for HP's Manufacturing, Energy and Life Sciences industries. Bill's experience encompasses work with NASD, now FINRA, the Nasdaq Stock market and NASA. He holds both a BS and MS degree in physics, and in addition, he has participated in summer conferences at Stanford University in both computer science and electrical engineering for over 20 years. In today's episode, Bill will be sharing with us how he was able to negotiate a mid-career change and know it was the right decision for him. He talks about what servant leadership is and the value of this in business, and why he has invested heavily in his own personal growth and development for over 20 years. He also shares how being part of a clique can serve you in the workplace and why investing in good relationships at work can make all the difference to workplace happiness and career performance. And he also shares what he believes are the core traits of a successful leader. So let's head over and hear what Bill has to say. Good morning, Bill. How are you doing today? Welcome to the My Brand HQ podcast. How's it going?
Good afternoon to you, since we're in different time zones. Things are going well. As you know, we have an election that's going on here, a lot of anxiety and also a lot of hope that's going to be coming out of that in the next week or so.
Good. We won't delve into the politics on this one, I think. We'll just keep our fingers
everything's
crossed.
A little bit political right now. So
yeah, no, I can well imagine. So I just want to delve into some questions with you because I think you've got a really interesting and broad career and a lot of value to bring to our audience today. So I know you've got a strong career spanning across 40 years and it kind of sits between engineering and aerospace industry. So tell me a little bit about that and during, as you advanced your career, what was it that you wanted to be known for?
Well, just a short summary to get, to cover that time period so people will know sort of that, where the comments are coming from. I'm a physicist by training. I have several degrees in physics, But I started out in automotive in an area today that we would call functional validation of features inside a vehicle from the design process. Did that for several years, went into manufacturing for a short period of time around robotics design. And then at this point in time, EDS came about, which was a joint venture between General Motors and the company EDS. And 14,000 of us transitioned into that company. And it was there and going through a divorce at the same time. Unfortunately, I did a major career change into, working with the federal government at NASA and on Navy, CAD/CAM, some of these things, because one thing that EDS found is that they had a great technical pool of engineering talent that they did not have. They were a data processing company earlier. So that particular thing helped out a lot. I spent quite a bit of time there. Then I went into financial services. Spent about 9 years with the Nasdaq, and at the time it's called NASD, which today is called FINRA. I was head of their strategic technology services group, as well as their year 2000 program. And then I came back to automotive after an executive recruiter came to me, and been in automotive since. Mm-hmm. But, why did, the why basically behind that is in terms of, and why did you stay in the path in terms of what you're doing? Yes, automotive engineering is very important to me, but financial tech was also very important. It was really good to go and get ingrained into the NASA lifestyle, highly, strongly innovative in nature, and stress for the very best. They always call stretch for the stars, but I think it was a stretch for the very best that you could find too. So.
Fantastic. And so tell me, how did you negotiate that mid-career change? Because the reason I asked you the question is people often believe that once you start in a particular career, that's it. You have to stay there for the rest of your career. And I think now we're seeing that the younger generation are more adaptable to changing and trying different things. So how did you negotiate that shift?
Well, I think some of it had to do with an external event, this divorce that I mentioned. I found myself in a large home with a high mortgage. Interest rates were more expensive than now. But more than anything, our company had branches in different areas, and they were really wanting some people to be able to go and join the federal systems group, to be able to bring what I would say is much needed talent to that particular organization, and to be able to bring the conversation to life in that particular area. So I did that. And one of the things that I think that's an enabler to that is I'm quick to trust. A lot of people are slow to trust, but I think it's probably one of the strengths that I have is you find things in people that you can trust very quickly. And in this particular case, there was a man that I was very quick to trust. I felt like that he would be a good mentor to me. He was a colonel in the Army, and he had joined that, but a man of immense integrity, very strong commitment and energy. Those kind of things I found very enviable in him.
So during your career, did you have maybe one or two people who really influenced your career that had a bigger impact on you?
Yes, I've had several. I think this gentleman I talked about, who's this colonel in the Air Force or in the Army, was very, very key. There was another business development man that I saw who really could determine goodness in people and get them to commit to that. He also was obsessed with customer satisfaction, and I've always liked that. That was at the heart of the EDS culture, was being obsessed with customer satisfaction. We were taught how to stand, for example, many things around the customer commitments and making absolutely sure you get done what you say you're going to get done and those kind of things. So some people in that particular area, but the HP Fellows program that I think we'll probably get into shortly, there was some people in there who was just broad and deep and highly, highly committed and had incredible integrity about them. Those people I remember very well too. So.
And so touching on that point about HP Fellows, you have been recognized as an HP Fellow. So what does it mean to actually be awarded this?
An HP Fellow is an award that is given not only to technical people, but people who really make a very strong contribution. The ratio, there's about 1 in 10,000 when I was there. But basically, it's really based about dramatic, bold, disruptive business improvement. It's not on technology, even though you employ a lot of technology. But I mean, you look for things that are 80% improvement, 90% improvement. You sort of pass on the stuff that's 50% improvement. You really go toward bold, dramatic moves. And I like that very much. And I did mine in what I was recognized most for was being able to use things that you see used in other particular areas that are leadership in your model in your area, but that's never been implemented in your particular area. And that's what I ended up doing. It's taking, in my particular case, it's taking how to be able to do rapid, very strong product management, product development, and applying it to a manufacturing process. So.
Awesome. That is amazing. That's really incredible. So congratulations on that award. And I'd like to ask you, have you had a time when you've experienced incredible overwhelm in your life? And how did you deal with that? How did you overcome that?
Yes. One that comes to mind is an incident that occurred when I was with the NASD. They were completely redoing their management and leadership team, and they brought a person in from the outside, a recognized expert. And having been around this man for a while, because I was one of the leaders there, I found out that his value system was dramatically different than mine. People I thought were doing a great job, he didn't think they were doing a job worth anything. People that he wanted to be able to go and promote because he had that kind of power to do, he picked them out. So that was really overwhelming. So the background noise that was going on in the sub-stories is, we need to find out what makes this man tick, and then we need to put ourselves in that situation, But at the end, when I actually found out, and he and I are friends now, but when I actually found out what he was doing, he was going to undiscovered talent. He was going to undiscovered commitment. He was going to undervalued things that he thought that was needed to spur on a sort of an institution that needed dramatic change. So he was picking and choosing people, and he didn't really communicate that very well, in my opinion. He didn't communicate that well, but what happened is it really caused a lot of disruption. But when we talked about that later, probably the best career advice I've ever gotten in my life was that man over a lunch. So.
And what was that advice?
Well, we were just sitting there, and he told me, if you look at Jacobian windows, which is a term, says, I know what I know, and you know what I know, all the way to the final quadrant is, I don't know what I know, and you don't know what I know. But he was very, very good at pointing out things I didn't know, but he knew as an observer. And he briefed me on that during that lunch. It was at the Mayflower Hotel in Washington, D.C. I'll never forget that lunch. And it was just the thing that he pointed out. He told me the kind of people I should work for and who I should never work for. He made a very quick point of saying you need to augment the strengths that you have with these particular strengths. Watch your back with this. It was very pinpointed, very sincere, but that was his way of helping me as much as he did. And I'm greatly appreciative of that.
That would be amazing if we all had somebody like that, right? When we're in our careers, yes. You can point out. And what was your biggest learning from that lunch, that conversation?
People out there have different strengths than you do. That's a really big thing, even though you sometimes think you're pretty smart at what you do. The other thing is I didn't know if I could ever trust that guy. I mean, I really tried to, but I had never seen anybody go picking and choosing an undiscovered talent and undervalued talent within a person. to be able to pick through layers of people and say, this person is going to excel in this particular job, even though they really don't know it today themselves. They may not have the commitment to that, but this is where they're really going to be, and then being bold enough and confident enough to put them in that place with mentorship, of course. He took as an example, he took a person that I knew was extremely good in terms of what he's doing. This guy's name was Mark. I won't use the last name. But he took him and did him the same way, probably moved him up 3 levels in terms of responsibility. And that guy went on to become CIO of several very big companies.
That is a talent, isn't it? To really be able to spot that.
He just took him and nurtured him, and those kind of things happen. And that's really important because it's not incremental change. It's really about discovering true talent and then uncovering that talent and nurturing that talent to get people where you want to go. And that's one thing I wish I was better at, to tell you the truth.
But I'm guessing you probably picked up some tips from that conversation, from seeing how this guy was operating as well, to be able to help you with that. Fantastic.
Yes.
And so tell me, what is your one non-negotiable value in business?
It would be anything that goes against trust, whether it's lying or deceitfulness, power parade, this thing of steering, trying to create an outcome that favors yourself more than your team. Those kind of things, they ruffle me in a bad way. My response typically is to go silent and listen and watch, and how you're going to maintain that. Probably my response should actually be more active and really engage a person in saying, what is the outcome that you want to have happen here? This isn't the way that, a team truly operates, for example. And they may not know that, themselves. But that behavior, it really needs to be interrupted and stopped and pulled together. But a lot of people believe that that's the most particular, strongest leadership style there is. So you have to be careful in that.
When you say that that's the most or the strongest leadership style, what do you mean? What is that you're referring to?
The people that want to break out. The people who are going to break out, they realize that, I've got to steer a course, perhaps not a clear course. Maybe it's going to be somewhat messy, but I know that I can do better than what these people are. And I know that I'm going to be doing better things. That particular leadership style, I think, if done correctly, it distinguishes yourself, but it shouldn't be or it shouldn't result in things where other people are hurt or their careers are hurt and so forth.
So it shouldn't be at the expense of other people. Okay, and tell me a bit about servant leadership, because I know that's very important to you. So explain what that is for the people who may not have heard of it, and why that's important.
Well, servant leadership style is one that there's a lot of things going on in the country right now, whether it's minimalism, it's tied to somewhat as loose threads into this. But servant leadership is really about putting your customer in a very dear place. And by dear, I'm talking about something that you care about, something that you can trust, something that you can get maximum value out of the relationship with them. It's about relationship building, but it's not it's not to close a deal. It's really about seeing who they really are, their strengths, their weaknesses, trying to help them achieve what they're trying to be able to do. For example, some of the leadership people, and then putting trust behind that and putting yourself as one of their employees. Probably the best thing I've ever done in customer engagement is I am another one of their trusted employees that I can bring my talent, I can bring my capabilities to bear, or my teams, whichever, and we can achieve great things together. That is what I characterize as servant leadership. The other thing servant leadership is about really, really building your people. All the things that that work for you, becomes a part of their repertoire. the things that you've seen in really other great people and great leaders. You make those kind of things available. As an example of that, this guy Mark I was talking about, their CEO at the time of Nasdaq was a great runner. This guy was a runner, Mark was a runner. I got them to run together. And,
Wow.
it's that kind of a thing. I think it's a servant kind of a model where you put other people's needs out there and what they're trying to do, their ambitions. You make connections that perhaps wouldn't be made normally.
And so that leads me on to my next question. And how much importance do you place on relationships within business and also towards advancing your career? Is it important, do you think, to have a strong network to build that around you? Or do you think you can do it on your own?
No, it's very important. But believe it, the real reason I think that a person needs strong relationships is it makes your job much happier. A lot of people don't realize that, but when you're in a career for a long time, you really need to be happy. You need to be happy when you get up in the morning, when you come to work. You realize that, yeah, there's some drudgery stuff that you got to get through, but relationships, real relationships, helps in that whole process of enjoying your job, of doing the best you can be, of opening up if you've got any kind of trauma that's going on in your life, for example. That happens to everyone at some particular point in time. Know that there's someone there that's going to be able to go through and stand by you, that sort of thing. That's an important part of it. But relationships also are good for exchanging ideas. It's really good to be able to go through and say, hey, what would you do? I've got this problem. What do you think I should do? And trust that's going to work. Deep relationships make that happen.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I also like the point you made there about being happier. It makes such a big difference to have people around you when you show up at work, whether it's online or in the office, that you've built those strong relationships, get on with people. It's like you spend so many hours at work, right? Oftentimes more than you spend with your own family. Right. Therefore, it is like your second family. So it is important to make that effort to build some good relationships around you. So you've got that support system. And as you said, that's where the ideas come from. Because I find that, when I start having conversations with people, then the ideas come up, or you get more clarity around something simply by vocalizing it with somebody or bouncing those ideas off.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Sorry, go on.
Good. One other point there that a lot of people take the wrong way, a lot of times I've seen, is the issue of clicks, or the item of clicks. And actually, I think that's greatly, it's greatly over-exaggerated how much harm it does. People learn and trust different people differently. And because you're not a part of that particular relationship, you shouldn't be jealous of that relationship. You shouldn't be envious of that relationship. It just means that those people have pulled together in a way that you haven't pulled together with them. And I think sometimes, that has to do, there's things that probably have to do with age, race, gender. There's a lot of things that creates those quote clicks. But I think that, a person should just value those if those people are really doing it. But obviously, there's agendas that a clique may take, that isolationist, or down deep they believe that they're better than the people around them. That's very dangerous, or not dangerous, harmful is a better word, to be able to go through and do. But just realize that those kind of things happen. It's natural in life. And, because I'm sure that down deep, you're probably in your own little clique that other people don't realize either, or don't even understand why you're that tight with each other, for example.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that, because I like that concept of actually, it's not, I think using the word clique it's got a negative connotation to it. But actually, if you look at it a different way and simply say, well, those people they resonate with each other. Maybe they share the same values, ideas, work ethic, interests, whatever it might be, would naturally draw those people together. And that's the same for, if you imagine how you make friends, outside of work, you resonate with people who have something similar to you, whether it's your values, your hobbies and interests and all that kind of thing. So it's a case of accepting it, as you say, for what it is, but actually looking at yourself and saying, well, who is it that I resonate with? Who do I want to spend my time with? Because oftentimes people, it can depend. Some people prefer the one-to-one relationship. Some people prefer to be in a group or more of a supportive, wider community sometimes. So it's recognizing that and then identifying those people where you feel comfortable, where you feel you can trust, you can share and be open with those people, because it benefits the individual having those relationships.
The most important time to be able to figure that out, though, on these clicks is when you come into a new job. You got a new geography, you got a new position, you got a new company, you know, a lot of change going on. And if you really feel like you're not being accepted as such, you have to look at within there, not look at them. Why don't they accept me? You know, it's just a person really needs to redirect at what am I going to be to make a value so that people pick me, you know, to be able to go into those particular kind of areas.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Very, very valid point. And I was having this conversation yesterday with a client, you know, when, particularly with relationships, any sort of relationship, whether it's your partner, family, friends, colleagues, if something's not going well in that relationship, the first thing we do is we point the finger to the other person. You know, they upset us, they were rude to us, they did this, they did that, they're behaving in this way, when actually we need to take a step back and look at ourselves and how are we showing up in that relationship that's creating that experience for us, or that situation. And that's a difficult thing for people to do. Something I explore a lot when I train and coach around personal branding is that's the first thing you start to do, is look at yourself, look at how you're showing up. Because for me, personal branding is about how you show up, and you can show up in a way that creates a completely different experience without being inauthentic. You can still be yourself, but you want to show up as your best self. And you know, I've seen situations where people are so focused on what everyone else is doing wrong, or things that they don't like, or even the energy they're coming from. I had a call last week. What was the word? Was it cynical, or there was a word that he kept using? It was, I think, cynical, or not trusting. Because he did say, I don't trust people easily, and I sort of question everything, and I question people's motives. And so I said, if you were to show up in a different way, if you were to show up and feel trust towards the people around you, do you think you get a different experience?
Right.
Yeah. So that was his little task to go do and see what happened. But it starts by looking at ourselves. And I think it's getting that message out there for people that it's not about everything outside of us. We need to look at how we are behaving, what energy we're bringing to the table, and how we're showing up. So that's really important. Thank you for sharing. And I'd like to ask you this: what is required to fuel our success in our career? Is it necessary, for example, to invest in our own personal growth, would you say, or is that not necessary?
Fueling your career and fueling the growth as almost identically the same thing. Your growth propels your career. That's really important to realize that. In my particular case, I remember sitting in my office on an afternoon, and I got this, I was a member of the IEEE and the ACM and those kind of organizations. And I received this mailer from Stanford. And, you know, I thought I was really good at what I did and all this sort of stuff. But I started reading what this program had. It was sponsored by the Western Institute of Computer Science. But it had mostly Stanford and Berkeley professors who's doing the teaching. I realized that when I read that, I had a lot to learn. I felt a little challenged. I felt that, you know, do I need to really invest in this to be, you know, sort of best in this particular kind of area, or great improvement? I was looking for great improvement, not minor improvement. So as you know, that kind of stuff is not cheap. I decided I was going to personally fund that. I wasn't going to leave it to a company to fuel my own personal growth or where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. So I did that, and I did that for year after year after year. I did that from 1989 to 1990 or to 2012. So all during the 90s, the first decade of 2000s and so forth. And the only reason I changed it is because the whole thing got so big that they moved it from Stanford down to another place in San Jose. But I remember that how much that campus meant to me and how much the little Thai place that we ate at, the Commons area, it was something I look forward to so much during the year. But I know these professors like John Hennessy, for example, as before he became president, he was head of the computer science department there. Things like that. You meet and you talk to these people. They're very approachable. You can sit on the grass with them there. You can have lunch with them, share an apple, whatever you want to do. And it's just remarkable the look you get out of their eyes. You can see in their eyes, these are truly different people that you normally work with. And when you listen to them talk and when you listen to them challenge people who are making presentations and stuff, the questions that they ask were different than mine. And so I learned a lot that way, and that was really important. But it's not cheap, but it's investing to be the best version of yourself that you can actually be in that particular area.
And so, again, very interesting point, because in my experience, a lot of people who work for companies don't recognize the value or not prepared to invest in themselves. And when I've had conversations or listened to people's conversations around this topic, often the belief is that, well, the company should pay because the company is going to benefit. So what is your view on that?
Your growth is so important. If the company helps pay for it, I think that's fine. But if they don't, that's something you need to do for yourself. You know, you paid your way through college, you or someone else did. A lot of times you take out a lot of loans and stuff. You make that kind of commitment, but a lot of people don't realize that picking an area that you really want to go into and getting good in that particular area just propels your growth. It changes your conversation. It changes who's in your relationship circle. When you have much more confidence, if you can see where that's happened before, talk to people that's done that. But to me, it gave me an identity. I should have mentioned that before I went to Stanford, I went to MIT, and I was trying to find the very best people in electrical engineering, computer science, and I took a class at up there at MIT, and nothing against those guys, but they just weren't my peeps. The Stanford guys were my peeps, way more laid back, ask a lot more questions. I didn't see any kind of identity inflation with these Stanford people that I was working. They were like me, and that was really important, even though they were much more brilliant than I was. But this whole thing of where they achieved and where they worked, they have very strong mentors out there, but there's an identity that you create. And that was, for many years, it was a part of my identity. Not so much now, but at the time it was.
And so that's a long period of time to be continually going back and, paying for that yourself, ongoing year after year. And yes, you really enjoyed it, but obviously I'm guessing it required an amount of time every year. How long would you spend there?
We started out as 4 weeks. I was very lucky to have people that supported that. But that it helped them actually in the business. It actually came down to 2 weeks there toward the end. It's just that I found out that, the higher you go in careers and more commitments that you make, it's very hard to work and do that offsite. So I would sort of see that this is my business vacation is the way that I would look at it. That particular part, you find that that companies are very interested in sponsoring that, but a lot of times they don't have the money to go and give that to somebody because you're not giving it to everyone, right? I mean, if they do that, they have to say, and we can't treat this person as special. this needs to be a policy that we would enforce. That's why a lot of times you have to end up doing a lot of this stuff yourself.
Yeah. And what would you say has been your biggest benefit from doing that, from going back year after year, investing in yourself and mixing with people at Stanford and building that network, that community around you?
The network was important. I went back, I was among friends. That was really important. I had several really good friends. There's other people out there doing the same thing you're doing, to tell you the truth. So that helps. But the other thing is that you have an exposure, especially in technology. And I was in electrical engineering because I'm sort of an engineer as well as an IT kind of person. And when you actually start seeing that, you actually have the time when you are there. You don't have these commitments and these back-to-back meetings that you get into and work. But you start, daydreaming about stuff, and things starts popping into your head of stuff that would never pop into your head, when you're at work. And those are the parts of where I think that fuels innovation. Your growth, but yes, when you take the time to be able to go through and live with that, sit with it, and to talk with that. One of the guys that I had who I really, really enjoyed was a guy named Jim Gray. He was the father of transaction processing. He was a renowned man on in terms of his goodness and his kindness and how hard he worked and studied. But I remember we'd go to what he called a greasy cafe, the greasy cafe that we want to go to and have a beer. We'd pile in he had an old Honda, and we'd pile into that thing and, go and talk. It's just 3 or 4 of you. And he'd talk about, how he got started, where he did his PhD work that he did in different places, and what he was leading Microsoft's Innovation Center in San Francisco. But talking about what he did, and he had challenges. Oh, he had challenges, work challenges. But he did a lot of his by reading. He had a little red wagon, and he pulled around. He put all his PhD papers in and other articles that he wanted to read. But you'd see him by his wagon, and he was in there. So those kind of things are just remarkable learning experiences, and something I'll cherish all the days of my life. So.
That's beautiful. That really is. Would you say that you would have accomplished what you have in your career if you hadn't invested that time, that energy, that investment?
Mm-hmm. To answer that, what one achieves in life, whether it was that or whether it's something else, there may have been alternate experiences that would have done something very similar. I know some of my friends who are doctors, they just literally like to go to another country. They could certainly go and find out new benefits of around heart medicine or whatever their area is in, or surgery techniques, whatever, with robotics. But they don't. They just literally go to another country. When the person I'm thinking about, he's very active in Doctors Without Borders, and he gets recharged by helping kids and helping people that don't have a prayer, any hope of anything getting done, and making things happen. So different people grow in different ways, and I think probably having a variety of those actually probably be best for a personal experience and growth too.
Yeah, most definitely. And so to bring to the final question, when it comes to leadership, what is the one thing that is required, in your belief, to be perceived as a leader?
The way you treat people is, and you're going to get different things out of different people, and mine probably would have changed over time. But a person who believes in his people and makes adjustments with full transparency, and a person who sets a very high chinning bar. You don't want your chinning bar to be down at your knees when you come in. You want people to be amazed at what they got to do. You want them to climb mountains. You want them to say, hey, the improvement we're looking for here, this thing's taking 4 days. We got to get this to 4 hours. It's not acceptable to do it in 2 days. It's sort of this whole thing about innovation and disruption. How are we going to do that? And then you see people in a whole different light. You don't see them doing their day-to-day job of doing emails and this and that, and doing their work and presentations and deliverables. You see them stumbling and fumbling around and talking to people. But you believe in them to where you wouldn't have asked them to do that to fail. You ask them to do that so that they can succeed. So I think that a person who brings that kind of capability, I think a person has to be confident. If you have a lack of confidence, it'll show through everything. People won't believe in you. They won't believe in themselves because they don't believe in you, especially if it's your idea. So a person needs to be confident, and to be confident, there's several very strong pillars under confidence. One is success. If everything you try, you fail, because you didn't go through the prep work or whatever the reason, you don't have good sense of, what you're trying to do, that really, really hurts you. You need a way also to determine what success is. And you've been very successful at doing that. Cost reduction is one thing, but rebranding your customer in terms of capabilities that you've given them that they didn't have before, that could be way more than a cost reduction or a business improvement. Helping them redo their value streams. I really would like to be known as a value stream expert, analyst. That's probably the one thing that you can see. It means you can spot waste anywhere in something that needs to be done. But those kind of things are all very important to confidence. I firmly believe if you're not confident to lead, you can't lead. No matter how much truth you have, how much integrity you have. I think the other thing that's really good is bringing out the best in others. If you bring out the best in others, all those relationship items that we talked about earlier will come to life too.
That's great.
Those are things I think is important. So.
Yeah, so the confidence and the ability to bring out the best in others. And also, like you say, understanding what success is, what it means for you. And I think oftentimes people, if you don't give it thought, it's just about money. So how much am I earning? What's the bonus? Or how am I progressing through the career and getting those pay rises? But something meaningful for most people, when they really stop and look at it, is actually some of the things you spoke about today.
On that point, I think a person can be successful, but they'll have a very empty life. It's my own opinion.
Yeah, and I've heard people say that people who are more business owners, entrepreneurs, and their goal was to make $1 million or a few million, and they made it, and then there's like, well, and it wasn't meaningful. So yeah, very, very good point there. Thank you. And so, Bill, I would like to say thank you so much for agreeing to join My Brand HQ and have a chat with us and share so much of your learnings over your career. And there's a lot of nuggets in there, and I feel it would be really beneficial for people listening to this. So thank you once again, and we'll speak soon. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do subscribe to the show so you don't miss any future episodes. And remember to leave a review telling us about your key learnings and what you enjoyed the most. And do share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can spread the word on the importance of personal branding when it comes to your career advancement. And also ensure that others can benefit from these invaluable insights from many inspirational leaders. I will be eternally grateful. And if you are looking to earn more money, to get promoted, to secure your next role and advance your career, and would like me to support you personally on that journey to get you there, then reach out to me and let's arrange a chat. Alternatively, why don't you check out my personal branding launchpad, a group training and mentoring program. Finally, if you'd like to connect with me directly, then do reach out and direct message me on LinkedIn. You can find the link as well as any other resources mentioned in the show notes. I'll see you next time.